Hey guys, welcome to the Pro Gun live stream. Today is Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. As usual, we'll give it a few minutes for people to join and we'll get started. And we got a few people on. All right, I don't know whether it's my internet connection or YouTube, but it's really been dragging here. All right, we got a few people join now. Before we get to the gun news, I'll wait for Duke to join because as a resident of the communist state of New Jersey, I'm sure he'll be interested in this. I'll also announce the winners of the giveaways in a couple of minutes. Hey, Mark, thank you for joining. Congratulations on the Ruger Security 9. And Yanip, what's going on with you? Hope everybody's having a good evening. Hey, Pezzo, good evening, brother. Thanks for joining us. Another hot evening in Tennessee. I'll wait for a few more people to join. Hey, G, how you doing, brother? Thanks for joining us tonight. Hey, Yanip. Well, basically, this is an open forum, so you guys really dictate where we go with this. I typically go over some of the gun news, and today I will announce the winners of our giveaway. We talk about firearms, accessories, and anything Second Amendment related. And we do this stream for you guys, so you guys can type in anything you want in the chat as long as it's related to the gun channel, and we will discuss it. All right, so the winner of the Zohan shot timer is Jib Jab. So congratulations on that. I was sent probably 3 or 4 shot timers to review. I only need one, so I already gave one away, and Jib Jab just won the other one. When I'm given products to review, I like to share them with you guys. I don't hoard them all. I'm not greedy. I do my review and then I give them away. And thanks for that, Pezzo. I appreciate it. Next winner we had was Common Sense Karen, and she won the Stinger magnetic gun mount. So congratulations to you on that there, Stinger. Karen, thank you for your support. I also want to thank all of you guys for your support. The feedback that I've received lately from you guys is really very touching. I really appreciate your support and your thoughtful comments. Hey, there's Duke. This channel wouldn't be what it is without you guys. And I really appreciate the positive feedback that you guys have been showering me with lately. And that's why I continue to do this. Hey, Duke, no worries, brother. That's awesome, Mark. I do the same thing. I love going out in my backyard and popping off a few rounds when I can't get to the range. Well, Duke, I waited for you to discuss more nonsense that the state of New Jersey is doing. I don't know if you're aware of it, Duke, but what New Jersey State Police just did today was they raised the NICS fee from $4 to $20 for handguns. You know, that communist state of New Jersey will do anything to take your money. I mean, $4 is reasonable. $20, I mean, it's electronic. It's not like, the state of New Jersey is paying somebody $20 an hour to do it. And Duke, when you take into consideration that in New Jersey, a carry permit is $200, the mandatory class, the firearms ID card, the background check, the NIC check. I mean, you're talking over $500 to get a carry permit. And we got the liberals coming out of mommy's basement early tonight. And thank God I have my moderators here because I couldn't do it without you. I will put my email address in the chat again. If anyone has any questions they want to ask, suggestions or ideas, please feel free to email me. I know there's some people that don't feel comfortable asking the question on the live stream, but they do contact me personally through my email, and I do answer each and every one. You know, Joseph, the flock cameras are stupid. And honestly, I understand giving law enforcement the tools they need. Common Sense Karen, welcome. Thank you for joining. And congratulations for winning the Stinger magnetic gun mount. But from what I'm reading there, Joseph, in Knoxville, Tennessee, 50 police officers were written up for using flock cameras for personal use to spy on their girlfriends or ex-wives, etc. The flock cameras they're much more than a license plate reader. This is a invasion of privacy, and they should be outlawed. And I don't know why you still live in New Germany, Duke. But, you know, I got to tell you, I grew up there. I lived in New Germany for over 50 years, and it was a great place to grow up. And then, I guess since Governor Murphy won, they destroyed that state. And now the new governor, Mickey, she's worse. They already admitted that they have illegals voting, illegals getting driver licenses, 75,000 illegals that got called for jury duty. And this is why we need to fight for our Second Amendment rights. I follow gun news in every state, and I volunteer my time as an activist to the NRA, Gun Owners of America, Tennessee Firearms Association. I invest as much of my spare time as I can to help work as an activist for those groups to support our Second Amendment rights. You can't get complacent. I live in the great state of Tennessee. We don't need a permit to carry. We don't need a permit to buy a gun. But I don't take it for granted because we're always one election away from losing everything. I mean, look what the hell happened in New Jersey there, right, Duke? After the Braun case, New Jersey actually lost rights since the Braun case. Well, you know what, Duke? I do this for all of us. I don't really have a lot of time either, but whatever time I do have, I try to volunteer and contribute as much as I can to those organizations. And I try to keep an eye on gun news in every state because people that join this live stream are in every state. You know what, Stephen? I've been saying that for a long time. They already lost the fight on guns. There's no way they can control the guns. However, What they can do is they can control ammo, and more importantly than the ammo is the consumables. Um, they can heavily regulate primers, cases, um, bullets, powder. Um, I said this back in April, right, Duke? That you're going to see the prices of ammo going up, and they are. Um, even the consumables. Back in April, I would go to Bass Pro and buy 1,000 primers for $49.99. They're now up to $80 again. I mean, during the pandemic, they were up to about 200, but they're going back up again. And now another thing the government did to control consumables uh, for those who reload is now a couple of years ago, they instituted this stupid hazmat fee. Yeah, Mark, I've been saying it for months. That's why I've been stressing if you're not reloading, start. Do it now. Buy as much powder and primers and bullets and cases as you can because ammo's going to get to be very expensive. You watch by Christmas time, it's going to be even more. I predicted ammo was going to go up by Labor Day, and it already has. But you mark my words, by Christmas or in the new year, it's going to be even more money, especially if you live in states like Illinois that's campaigning for serialized cases. Hey, gun dogging. Yeah, that's interesting, Duke. Um, when I was in when I, when I was at the gym earlier today, I was watching on the TV while I was on the treadmill because that's just boring. I was watching the Little League World Series, and it was Canada playing South Korea. And I got to tell you, I give those kids a lot of credit. And you know what, Big Racer? Even buying in bulk, prices are still going up. Um, you know, if you're not into reloading, now is an expensive time to get into it, but it's only going to get more and more expensive. Um, and reloading isn't only to save money because I did a video and I did a breakdown on how much you need to reload to break even. And I think I came up with around 12,000 rounds before you break even. Um, when you consider, for those that haven't started and want to, you need a reloading press. That's going to cost you at least $300 going the cheap route. Then you're going to need the dies for each caliber. Right? They're 30, 40 bucks. You're going to need a set of calipers. You're going to need a scale. You're going to need a powder measurer. You're going to need a priming tool. Then you need your consumables. You need brass. You need bullets. You need powder. And you need primers. And like I said, a couple of years ago, the government started this nonsense with hazmat fees, right? And when I finally found a deal on a pound of Winchester 235 powder that I use, and it was, oh, I don't know, $32 a pound, there was a $35 hazmat fee. So now that powder cost me 70 bucks. And this is what the government's going to do. They're going to tax the crap out of us. The state of Illinois now is also talking about, effective January 1st, charging 5 cents per round on ammo. It's just ridiculous. But reloading isn't really all about saving money. because you got to reload quite a bit to break even. However, the main benefit of reloading is you don't have an ammo shortage. I mean, I probably have at least 50,000 rounds of ammo on my reloading bench. I'm not having an ammo shortage here. And I like shooting the big boy caliber guns like 10 millimeter and 45. Box of 45 ACP is $43 and change. I agree with you, Duke. That's why I left New Jersey, Duke. It's just so ridiculous. And it really makes me wonder about the people that are voting for these lunatics. I mean, I was watching on the news the other night when the dumbass governor of New Jersey admitted, and she claimed it was only 6,600 people that were illegally registered. And I think she said only 400 of them voted. And she said, but that's okay. It wasn't enough to sway an election. That's bullshit. So what she's saying is, oh, big deal. 400 votes. It's not a big deal. Well, yeah, it is a big deal. It doesn't matter if it's only 400. And I guarantee you it's much more than that. But it doesn't matter that it was only 400. What matters is 400 law-abiding citizens' votes did not count. Hey, Isaac, your mommy's calling you. Bye-bye. Right? That means 400 law-abiding citizens' votes didn't count. And more importantly, there was a town in New Jersey where the mayor won by one vote. Now, how would you like to be the mayor that lost by one vote and found out that maybe 400 illegals voted for your competition? That's what I'm saying, Mark. I've been predicting this since April, and I said by September, and it happened in August, and it's going to go up even more. By the first of the year, it'd probably be up $10 a box. I mean, I used to be able to any given day go to Smoky Mountain Guns and Ammo in Knoxville and buy a box of 9mm for $9.99 a box. Now that $9.99 a box ammo is $13.99. And it's just going to get worse. Hey, anything helps there, Duke. I reload because 10mm and 45 ACP are expensive. But it's also a relaxing hobby. And it is time consuming. So if you guys are thinking about getting into reloading, I use a RCBS Rock Chucker single stage press. And I got to tell you, it takes a long damn time. Got to handle that cartridge about 5 times, right? You knock the primer out, that's 1. You size the case, that's 2. You put the primer in, that's 3. Put the powder in, that's 4. And you seat the bullet, that's 5. And if you use a factory crimp die, that's 6. So you're handling that cartridge 6 times. But I don't care. I find it relaxing. Duke, before you go out and you buy a bench for your reloading, here's what I did. Now, granted, I did this when I first moved here, right before the pandemic, and wood was cheap. I built a workbench that's 8 feet long by 4 feet wide. I went to Lowe's. I got 2x4s. I built the frame. And then for the top, at that time, it only cost me $60. And I got a 4x8 sheet of maple plywood for the top of my workbench. And then I built some shelves to put um, my powder and primers and all of that crap on. I went to Harbor Freight and I bought wheels so that if I want to wheel my workbench out into the garage or into the driveway, I could do that. And I think back then that whole thing cost me about $100. And you're definitely going to want um, a sturdy top. And that's why I used maple plywood for the top of my workbench. Because when you mount that gun press and you start pulling that lever, that corner of the bench takes a freaking pounding. And if you just have, cheap pressed wood on there, you're going to snap it. So that's my advice to you, Duke, and anybody else that is thinking of building a workbench. The whole reason I made it 4x8 is because it's never going to be big enough, right? But I intentionally made it 4x8 so that I can get a 4x8 piece of maple plywood, put it on the top of the bench, and not have to cut anything. And it's fantastic. Yes, it is in my garage. You know what, Duke? I'm going to take a picture of it and I'll post it in the messages on the channel and show you. You know what, Duke? To be honest with you, the humidity down here really hasn't affected my ammo. Maybe because my ammo's in the garage, and it's a little cooler there. I agree with you, Mark. I went with maple because maple is harder than the birch. Hey, Simba. How you, brother? Thanks for joining. But anyway, I would highly recommend building your workbench 4x8 if you have the room. The reason for that is because, you make it 5 foot. Once you put your reloading press on there and a couple of the other items, like I have a bench mount for my powder measure. The bench starts getting small. Trust me. And I also like the fact that with a 4x8 bench, I put down the cleaning mat. I have more than enough room to clean my rifles, shotguns. I'm just saying, I strongly subscribe to the go big or go home philosophy. And I know a lot of people, they'll go to Lowe's and they'll buy the pre-made little 3 foot by 4 foot long or even 5 foot long workbenches. A 5 foot long workbench, if you're reloading, it's going to go really quick. Because I probably used 3 feet of space on my bench just for primers and powder. So keep an eye out for that, Duke. Maybe tonight or tomorrow, I will post. I will make a post on the channel and put a picture of my reloading bench. The only thing that I screwed up on, and I don't know why, never occurred to me at the time. I should have put shelves in the bench. All I have is that bottom shelf, and I should have added one shelf to it while I was building it, because I got so much crap on that bottom shelf all piled up on top of each other that if I had that extra shelf on the workbench, would have just been a lot nicer to organize. I also want to thank all you guys for the suggestions to improve the channel. And a lot of people asked for videos on personal defense. As a pistol instructor, some of my favorite classes are the personal protection inside the home, personal protection outside the home, and defensive shooting. So I'm in the process right now of creating a whole bunch of personal defense videos. I will be releasing them over time, and this will be a work in progress. If you watch some of my training videos, if you learn one thing, it was worth it. I've already had a lot of you guys comment on my training videos, and I appreciate the fact that you guys like what I do. And if you just learn one thing watching each of my videos, I accomplished my goal. Even experienced shooters can learn. And just so you know, Duke, I just created a playlist called Personal Protection. There's also a playlist for new shooters and dry fire training that, anybody can use those. But my favorite classes to teach are the personal protection classes. And you all get to see them for free because I'm just going to make videos for each section and post them out there. But the personal protection videos, I would highly recommend you watch them. Like I said, even if you learn one thing from each of those videos, I achieved my goal. It's a hell of a lot different going to the range and shooting paper than training for personal defense. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather train than shoot. No, I do not have a New Jersey edition, Duke, but everything does still apply as long as you have a valid carry permit. The only difference is that in the state of New Jersey, they do not have a stand your ground law, so you do have a duty to retreat. Whereas in the great state of Tennessee, we do have a stand your ground law, so we are allowed to use deadly force anywhere we have the legal right to be, as long as you're not in commission of committing a crime. You know what, Duke? I'll make a video for New Jersey where you just hide. That's a great one. You just hide. Because in New Jersey, I'm telling you right now, if you have a carry permit in New Jersey, you do not have a stand your ground law. If somebody attacks you in the parking lot and you pull out your gun and shoot him, there's going to be a problem. The only thing that in New Jersey that they made perfectly clear is the Castle Doctrine law, where you're allowed to use deadly force protecting your home. And honestly, even that, I wouldn't want to be testing that law in New Jersey. But anyway, like I said, as a pistol instructor, I observe a lot of people shooting, including cops. And when I see people at the range, most people go to the range and shoot. They don't train. They don't shoot weak-handed. They don't draw properly. They don't assess their threat. They just stand there and they bang, 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 and they shoot a piece of paper. That's a bad habit to get into. And that's why I like teaching personal defense. It's all about center mass, right? if you have a grouping, a really tight grouping at center mass, I don't give a rat's ass if you hit the bullseye or not. You think the bad guy is going to be able to tell you that you scored a 7 or an 8 and which one hurt worse? Matter of fact, in the uh, personal defense classes, they don't even have numbers on the targets. It's basically like shooting at a 8-inch paper plate. And the whole idea is center mass. They don't care what number you score. And honestly, I'd rather have you score a tight group like this at the bottom of the target than to have one bullseye and, 8 or 9 all over the page. But anyway, like I said, I go to the range to train. I don't go to the range to shoot. And there's a huge difference. When you go to the range and you shoot paper, they stand head on at the target. They don't move. The target doesn't move. That's not going to happen in the real world either. I watch people draw from a holster at the range, and they take it out of their holster, extend and shoot, and they slam it right back into their holster. Matter of fact, the video I'll be releasing this weekend is one of the first parts of my personal defense videos, and it is how to properly draw from a holster. And even if you've been shooting for a long time, just because you've been shooting for a long time doesn't mean you've been training for a long time. It's a huge difference between shooting and training. I'm also working on a video for cover versus concealment. A lot of people don't know the difference. They use those terms interchangeably, and they shouldn't. And surprisingly, there are a lot of things that people think are cover that are really not, and it could save your life. So, besides watching all my gun reviews and stuff like that, I will have a lot of material out there. There's, like I said, I just created the playlist called Personal Protection. So keep an eye on that because I'll be adding more to that. I have a playlist for new gun owners, which could also apply to everybody. And I also have a playlist for dry fire training. Well, you know what, Common Sense? You see, this is a perfect example. You're a perfect example of why you should be dry fire training. We all have the excuse between life and family and our job and everything else. We all can't get to the range as often as we would like, or we can't afford to go to the range as often as we'd like because we can't afford ammo, right? It costs nothing to dry fire train. Matter of fact, if it were me, I have a few videos for the dry fire mag. That is an absolute must because if you're dry fire training and you're racking that slide every time, it's just stupid. Not saying you're stupid. It's stupid to have to rack the slide. And unfortunately, that's the problem of a striker-fired pistol. Racking the slide is non-productive, number one. It's a bad habit because in the real world, you're not going to rack the slide every time you pull a trigger. But you won't, Common Sense, Karen. If you have a dry fired mag, what it does is it resets your trigger, and you can pull the trigger as many times as you want. Search my videos. Matter of fact, at the end of any one of my videos, you'll see my video come up for the dry fire mag. And the nice thing about it is you're using your gun, your trigger. You put the dry fire mag in, all it does is resets the trigger. um, if you're still racking the slide, there's so many things you can't do. Like, how are you supposed to practice follow-up shots racking the slide? Also, common sense, Karen, if you do, anybody and anybody else out here, if you do plan on purchasing the dry fire mag, um, click on the link in my video. I believe the price is 10% off for Pro Gun. So any of my videos for dry fire mag, there's a link there that'll take you to their page, and that price should be 10% off. But that's number one. They have two different types. They have the magazine only, which will reset your trigger. And then they have the Smart Mag, which I like because it comes with a laser cartridge. And the laser cartridge is paired to the mag. Now you get the best of both worlds. Not only do you don't have to rack the slide, but you also get visual representation. Well, unfortunately there, Mark, when it comes to a revolver, I would just recommend using dummy rounds, which is what I do. Problem with the revolver is that, if it's a 6-shot revolver, you have 6 chambers, right? Well, you would need 6 laser cartridges if you want to do that. You can probably get them on Amazon for $25 a piece. It's going to cost you over $100. What I would recommend doing, just go get yourself some dummy rounds. I did a review on SnapCap. I'm sorry. I did a review on SmartPoint snap caps. You could search for that in my videos. And I like them because they are real brass, not aluminum. And the bullets are real 128 grain made out of lead. No, there is no harm to a gun. If you use dummy rounds, technically any modern revolver, you will not harm. And any striker fire pistol, you will not harm dry firing. However, with a revolver, I like using dummy rounds. I just don't like that firing pin. I just don't like that hammer or the firing pin striking nothing. But that's just me. So you can buy, like a pack of dummy rounds for like really cheap and just keep pulling the trigger on your revolver. And that's a great point there, Karen. Do you need different system for different calibers? Well, you will need, if you're using dummy rounds, you will. And if you're using laser cartridge, you will need one for each caliber. But that's okay. I mean, I have dummy rounds and laser cartridges in 9mm, 45 ACP, 10mm, 357 Magnum. And by the way, they also make dummy rounds for rifles and shotguns. Now, to your point, Mark, you asked about harming guns. However, never ever dry fire a rim-fired gun. Okay? And that would be like a 22 long rifle, pistol, or rifle. You will definitely do damage if you dry fire a rim-fired pistol. I use dummy rounds for that as well. I have 22 caliber dummy rounds I use for my rifles and my 22 pistol. Um, but do a search uh, on my channels there, Mark. I think it's Snap Point, um, and they are by far the best. And the reason for that is that they're the actual weight, right? When you dry fire train, it should be realistic. So it should weigh what your gun weighs. You know, you buy this cheap shit off of Amazon that's made out of aluminum and the bullet is plastic. That's not how your gun is going to feel. Um, and that's why you want the dry fire mag, because when you dry fire train, it needs to be realistic. Um, so another thing, I'll give you guys some tips that I use. When I go to the range, I will have, before I get there, I'll load a few magazines and I'll put a dummy round in one of the magazines. And then by the time I get to the range, I will not remember what position that dummy round is in, right? That is a great training aid when you're at the range. You'll be firing bang, 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 click, right? So what does that do? It simulates a misfire. So you do the tap and rack and continue on. That is a great way to train when you're at the range. I highly recommend that you throw a dummy round in your mags, practice like that. Um, Another good thing about dummy rounds is, you know, somebody may be a new gun owner. They have never loaded um, a magazine before. You don't want to go to the gun range and look like a dumbass. So at your own home, you can practice loading and unloading magazines. You can practice mag changes. Um, Another thing I do with dummy rounds is if you have a semi-automatic, you can finagle it in there and practice a stovepipe or a double feed. Um, Dummy rounds are invaluable. They really are. So, contrary to what people think, like I said, excluding a 22 rimfire, it costs nothing to dry fire. You could just, you want to be cheap, rack the slide, pull the trigger, rack the slide, pull the trigger. Second option is you can use dummy rounds. The third option is you could use a laser cartridge. Laser cartridge will do the same simulation as a dummy round, only they don't eject, but you will get a visual representation of where your target is. Or you can get the dry fire mag, which I highly recommend, and you could just keep pulling your trigger. You could practice 100 follow-up shots, right? And if you get the smart one with the laser, you'll get visual representation, and you can also use that with Mantis Laser Academy. Yeah, you know what, Mark? I switched away from speed loaders, and I started using speed strips. And it's for two reasons. Number one, a speed strip is flat. You can stick it in your shirt or your pants pocket. They're not bulky like the reloaders are. And I was practicing using a speed loader on my Colt, and I use a shot timer. And let me tell you, under duress, speed loaders are very, very difficult. You need to train hundreds of hours to get that right. So what I started doing is instead of using speed loaders, hey there, Big Red, welcome back. So instead of using speed loaders, I've been using speed strips. And the nice thing about them is they're straight and they're flat. They hold 6 rounds. However, with the speed strips, you can only load two at a time, and that's okay. There may be a time where, say, you got a 6-shot revolver and you know you fired 2 shots. You want to just top off and put 2 rounds in. The problem with the speed loaders are it's all or nothing. You're either loading all 6. I prefer the speed strips. Yes, Pacific, speed loaders are effective, but it takes a lot of practice. And I can tell you that if I go from my Colt Python to my Smith & Wesson 686, there's a learning curve going from speed loader with 6 rounds to one with 7. Because now you have one more cylinder you have to line up, right? With the speed strips, they're pretty much universal. I disagree, Pacific. I practice with my speed strips all the time. And honestly, besides being bulky, right, the speed loader is not something, and I mean, unless you put in a lot of hours training, speed loader is not like the name implies. It is not fast. Speed strips are very quick. That's just me. Yes, the strips have the benefit of being flat in your pocket. Speed loaders are bulky. They take up a lot of room. And think about it. The speed strips are about 1/4 of an inch wide. You could fit 5 of them in your shirt pocket. And it doesn't even print. How many speed loaders are you going to keep on you? And you could put the speed strip in your pocket. Nobody's going to know. You're going to put a speed loader in your pocket. You're going to struggle getting it out of your pants. I just don't recommend it. But anyway, for dry firing a revolver, I highly recommend using snap caps. Now, another thing for you guys that shoot revolvers, Mantis X is probably the best dry fire training system on the planet. And the Mantis X mounts to the Picatinny rail on your pistol. However, what they did come out with, if you shoot a revolver, they now have these barrel inserts that you push into the barrel of your gun, and you could mount Mantis X to it, and now you can practice dry fire training your revolver using Mantis X. So that's really cool. But anyway, at minimum, dummy rounds are really a good way to go. I have them in every caliber. I even use dummy rounds in my AR-15. And if you want to dry fire your AR-15 without racking the slide, Mantis makes a product called Blackbeard X. And you take the bolt carrier group out of your AR-15 and you replace it with the one they give you, and you replace your magazine with theirs, and it will automatically reset the trigger on your AR-15 while shooting a laser out the barrel, which is really cool. So I can't stress enough how important dry fire training is. So now, Karen and Mark, if you want to look at my dry fire training videos, I have a whole bunch of scenarios on, transition shooting, moving forward, backward, laterally. Yeah, remember, we should be training, not shooting. People go to the range, they stand in the same spot, they don't move around, and that's one of the benefits of um, dry fire training. You could do a lot of things they don't let you do at the range, right? I mean, you could practice rolling on the floor and shooting. Um, I practice dry fire shooting from my car. Um, I sit in the car and I draw my firearm and I practice. I bet you many people don't do that. Another thing that's good about dry fire training is that you can practice shooting from a seated position. Um, and I do that a lot. Now, I carry a firearm at all times, at home, work, everywhere I go, but I dry fire train from a seated position all the time. Why? You could be home watching television. Somebody busts through that front door. You need to know how to fire from a seated position. You're not going to be able to do that at the range. Another reason to do that is you may be sitting in a chair in a doctor's office in the waiting room, and some mental patient busts in with a gun and starts shooting people. You really need to know how to shoot from a seated position. You may not have the luxury of being able to stand up. You may have to draw and fire from sitting down. Um, Another nice thing you could do when you dry fire train at home, I use these laser targets, and I spread them out in the room, and I come in the room and I shoot them. And the nice thing about it is you can practice shooting from all different angles. That is another scenario that you cannot do at the gun range. You're shooting at a piece of paper that is straight in front of you. You're not shooting left, right, and turning around. Another thing I do when I dry fire train is I practice sweeping a room. You're not going to get to do that at the range either. You practice shooting from cover and concealment. If you dry fire train, I guarantee you, if you haven't done it, if you dry fire train in 20 minutes, you will be a better shot. I can tell you that right now. And I dry fire train 3 to 5 days a week. And I got to tell you, my shooting skills have increased probably 100%. And the best part about it is I don't have to go anywhere to do it. It's cheap. One more piece of gun news I forgot to mention. The NRA is suing the state of New York over the Glock ban. So that'll be interesting. And again, this is another one of those things that the Supreme Court needs to rule on. We go again with individual states making up their own unconstitutional gun laws, and then it goes to the lower courts, like it did in New Jersey, went to the Third Circuit. You know what? Common sense, Karen, that is a good thing to practice. This is just hold on, I got to make this. There we go. His mommy was calling me. I had to go back in the basement. I'm sorry, Karen. And this is not a criticism. This is from personal experience. I don't believe in safeties. The safety is keep your finger off the trigger. Now, I have guns that have safeties because I had no choice. They came with the safety. You can get some guns without a safety, like a Glock or the Sig Sauer. But a lot of them, like the Springfields and the Smith and Wessons, they do have safeties. I never put the safety on because under duress, last thing you want to do is pull that gun out of your holster and hear click. Um, and if you only carry one gun, it's good to practice. As you draw, you knock the safety off. But if you own 4 or 5 semi-automatics, some have ambidextrous safeties, some safeties are in a different place, some are on the left side, some are on the right side. It's a lot to remember. To me, I would just practice and not have to worry about putting the safety on and off. You should have proper finger discipline anyway to keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. I'm just not a fan of practicing with the safety. That's just me. I could be wrong, and if you're comfortable with it and it works for you, that's fine. I only give suggestions. I'm not trying to make people change or stop what they do, but if you're open to the suggestion, you may want to just give it a try and just practice drawing. Exactly. Smith & Wesson Equalizer has got a safety. I hate that. I just bought a Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 10 millimeter. It's got a safety. I hate it. All my 9 millimeters, I'm sorry, all my ARs have safeties. I never use them. You know what, Mark? There's nothing wrong with carrying a revolver. First of all, you carry a revolver with, for argument's sake, let's say 6 rounds. Okay? According to the FBI stats, the average gunfight is 3 rounds at 3 yards in 3 seconds. And it's all about shot placement. If you need more than 6 rounds, you're in trouble. Not for nothing. I mean, I get a kick out of these people that are carrying 20-round magazines like they're going into Afghanistan. I'm just not seeing it. And when you think about it, like I like my Smith & Wesson 686, 7 rounds. And guess what? People go out and they buy these little sawed-off semi-autos that hold what? 7 rounds. Okay. Well, now you can't even use the argument about magazine capacity because you're down to 7 rounds just like a revolver. So, and if you can't shoot, it don't matter what you're carrying. We have about 10 minutes left. We do have some new people on the stream, so thank you so much for joining. We do this stream every Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, and every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern. There is no set agenda. I do this for you guys. We all enjoy just talking about firearms, accessories, sharing experiences, etc. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. We are a growing channel. My goal is probably a little aggressive, but my goal is to have 10,000 subscribers by the new year, and I think we can do it. Everybody that has subscribed, again, thank you so much. And more importantly, I'm just really taken aback by all the positive comments I've received from you guys. I mean, I love doing this, and I love my relationship with all of you guys. And this is why I continue doing it. So thank you all for the encouragement, and that's why I still do this. I did get another red dot to review from Zulisi. And this is a red dot that works with the RMSC cut. It also has an adapter plate so that you can mount it to a Picatinny rail on a rifle. I will test it out and review it, and I may give that away at some point, maybe for Christmas or Labor Day, whatever. But I will eventually give away. I have a red dot on every gun I own. I was sent a boatload of red dots to review. And I'm going to look around. If I have a couple extra red dots, I will start giving them out to you guys as a giveaway. So we have 5 minutes left. So whatever you guys want to slip in there last minute, ask questions, whatever. Again, don't forget to keep an eye out on my personal defense playlist. I will be adding a lot of videos to that in the future. Keep an eye out and look for my dry fire training playlist and look for my new shooter playlist. There's even though it says new shooter, there's a lot of things in those playlists that everyone could benefit from. I, even as an instructor, I'm always amazed when I go to my instructor for advanced classes. It always amazes me how much I learn. And it doesn't matter how long I've been doing this. I still go and get instruction for advanced personal defense. And I learn something every time I go. So there's no substitute for training. I would highly recommend, at minimum, everybody take NRA personal protection inside or outside the home class. Yeah, you know what, Mark? I mean, I'm old school. I've been shooting iron sights for a long time. Um, I find if you're new to a red dot after using iron sights, um, it's a huge learning curve. It's like the cat chasing the laser pointer. But um, after you practice for a while, man, let me tell you, you talk about quick target acquisition. Those are nice choices there, Pezzo. And common sense, Karen, that's fine on a BB pistol. I know you've heard my rants on the streams. I'm not a fan of having a tactical light on a pistol. Um, Tactical lights, a weapon light now makes that light an extension of the gun. And I don't like that you're pointing a loaded firearm at someone to use a light. Um, yeah, Mark, my eyes aren't what they used to be either. And that's why I like the red dot. Um, it's a single focal point, number one. And more importantly, number two, shooting a red dot, I can keep both eyes open. However, you should still know how to shoot with iron sights. I like to co-witness them because, you know, a red dot is something that can fail. The batteries can die. It could shatter. You could drop the gun and break it. So you better be able to shoot with irons. But, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, Mark, if I would have recommended a red dot for an everyday carry, I would have said absolutely not. But after doing it, I highly recommend it. Um, with training, you definitely need to train. Um, but target acquisition is so fast. Um, you're only looking at the dot. You don't have to worry about, you know, sight picture and sight alignment. Just put that dot on the paper, and that's it. All right, guys, it is 9 o'clock now. I am going to end the stream. Again, thank you all so much for your support and your positive comments I've received lately. And I will be doing these training videos because that's what you guys asked for. Um, anyway, uh, thank you again, all. And please watch as many of my videos as you can. Share them with your friends. Leave comments. By doing that, YouTube will push it out to more people and we'll generate more revenue. Um, and that'll allow us to purchase more firearms. I mean, I can't afford to buy a new gun out of my own pocket every month, so it's going to be a while before I get a new one. Anyway, uh, thank you all for joining. Thanks to our moderators, Pezzo, thank you, Karen, Duke, Mark, and I don't want to miss everyone. So, and everyone else, thank you so much. I will not be doing the stream on Saturday, by the way, just so you know. So we'll be back next Wednesday. Thanks for joining.